Have you ever seen a picture of a giant triangle rising from the desert? These are the pyramids of ancient Egypt. They are some of the oldest and most mysterious buildings in the world. For thousands of years, they have stood under the hot Egyptian sun, guarding ancient secrets. Imagine seeing them for the first time. They would look like mountains made by people, pointing straight up to the sky. These amazing structures were built a very, very long time ago, even before your grandparents' grandparents were born. The ancient Egyptians were incredible people who lived along a long river called the Nile. This river was their lifeline, giving them water for drinking and for growing food. They believed in many gods and goddesses, and they also believed in an afterlife. This was a special journey they thought people went on after they died. Why did the pharaohs need such big tombs? Because they weren't just being buried, they were moving into their forever home. The Egyptians believed that when a pharaoh died, his spirit needed a body to live in for the afterlife. This is why they turned the pharaoh's body into a mummy. Mummification was a long process. Special priests would carefully remove the internal organs and dry out the body with a type of salt called natron. It was very important to preserve the body perfectly so the pharaoh's spirit, or Ka, would recognize it. Once the body was dried, it was wrapped in hundreds of yards of linen cloth. It was like wrapping a very important gift. Priests would place magical charms called amulets between the layers of bandages. These charms were meant to protect the pharaoh on his dangerous journey through the underworld. The whole process could take up to 70 days. But a body wasn't the only thing a pharaoh needed for the afterlife. The Egyptians thought the afterlife would be a lot like life on Earth, so they packed the tombs with everything a king could possibly want or need: golden jewelry, furniture, clothes, food and drinks, games, chariots, boats. The Egyptians also buried special statues called shabtis. These were little figures that were supposed to come to life in the afterlife and do all the work for the pharaoh. How did the ancient Egyptians build something as huge as a pyramid without modern machines? It is a question that has puzzled people for centuries. It took a lot of planning, a lot of people, and a lot of hard work. The pyramids were built from millions of giant stone blocks. Some blocks weighed more than a car. Most of the stone was limestone, which was quarried nearby. To move these massive stones, the Egyptians were very clever. They used the Nile River as a superhighway. Workers would load giant blocks onto huge wooden boats and float them down the river to the construction site. Once the stones were on land, teams pulled them across the sand on big wooden sleds. To make it easier, they might have poured water on the sand to reduce friction and help it slide smoothly. Building the pyramid was like solving a giant puzzle. Workers had to stack the blocks layer by layer. The layers got smaller as they went up. No one is exactly sure how they lifted the heavy stones to the top. Many experts think they built long ramps made of mud brick and sand. It's important to know that the people who built the pyramids were not slaves, as many movies show. They were skilled Egyptian workers. Many were farmers who worked on the pyramids during the flood season when they couldn't work on their fields. The most famous pyramid of all is the Great Pyramid of Giza. It is truly enormous. Built for a pharaoh named Khufu about 4,500 years ago. For over 3,800 years, it was the tallest man-made structure on Earth, made of more than 2 million stone blocks, originally covered in smooth, polished white limestone that gleamed in the sun. A giant jewel sparkling in the desert. Inside were not just tomb chambers, tunnels and passageways. Builders made the passages confusing on purpose. They knew the treasure would attract tomb robbers, so they tried to trick them. Khufu's Great Pyramid has several chambers inside. The most important is the king's chamber, high in the center. Khufu's sarcophagus, his stone coffin, was placed there. Sadly, the tricks didn't stop robbers. Almost every pyramid was broken into and looted in ancient times. Robbers knew the pyramids held gold and jewels and risked everything to get them. Later pharaohs saw the pyramids as advertisements for thieves. They needed a new, safer place to bury their dead for eternity. Because the pyramids were being robbed, the pharaohs of a later period, called the New Kingdom, decided to try something new. They stopped building pyramids. Instead, they chose a secret, hidden place for their tombs. This place is now called the Valley of the Kings. Here they cut their tombs deep into the rock of the cliffs. The entrances were hidden to keep them safe from robbers. the tombs are very different from pyramids inside. Not tall structures. Long underground tunnels with many rooms and walls covered in colorful paintings and hieroglyphs. One famous pharaoh here was Tutankhamun, King Tut. He died around 19 years old. His tomb was small and well hidden, missed by robbers for over 3,000 years. In 1922, Howard Carter discovered it. He peeked inside and saw wonderful things, packed with thousands of treasures, including King Tut's solid gold death mask, almost completely untouched. It showed what a royal tomb looked like, full of golden chariots, jewelry, statues, and furniture. The pyramids are famous, but the Valley of the Kings has its own magic. It reminds us the ancient world still holds mysteries, and the quest for eternal life created beautiful, fascinating treasures. These structures tell us so much about how the ancient Egyptians saw the world, built with hope and deep respect for the journey after death.